Anneliese Michel looked just like any other ordinary girl living in West Germany in the 1960s. But behind closed doors, her life was shaped by extreme religious fear, devotion, and a childhood steeped in penance for her sins. By the time she was 17, things took an even darker turn. She collapsed at school, slipping into trances, and began seeing things that no one else could. Faces twisting into the devil's image, and voices whispering as she prayed. Medication didn't stop it, and her behavior grew stranger, darker, and more violent. She tore at her clothes, dropped to her knees hundreds of times a day, and began barking through the night as if compelled by something she couldn't fight. Her family believed that she needed spiritual help. Local priests hesitated, but eventually two agreed, and the exorcism of the girl that followed is enough to make your blood curdle. The events even inspired the Hollywood blockbuster The Exorcism of Emily Rose. So, have your crucifixes at the ready as we uncover what really happened in the bizarre but true story of the real Exorcism of Emily Rose. Anneliese Michel was born an ordinary girl living in Klingenberg, Bavaria, in West Germany during the 1960s and 70s. Her life seemed typical enough, that is, until you looked a little more closely. From a young age, she slept on bare stone floors, which she believed would serve as penance for the drug addicts that she saw sleeping rough in her local station. Her father was a devout Catholic, and her mother, equally religious, encouraged Anneliese to pray fervently for their previous sins in conceiving her older sister, Marta, out of wedlock. The family's religious fervour only intensified after Marta later died following a kidney operation. Despite living in a home ruled by fear of sin, Anneliese was described as a sweet and peaceful-hearted girl. That is, until the day that she blacked out at school when she was 17 and entered a weird trance-like state. It might sound like a childish prank, but for Anneliese, this was just the beginning of a nightmarish descent. Diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy, she experienced convulsions and disturbing hallucinations. But then, things began to get more and more eerie. Despite the medication, Anneliese claimed that she began to see the devil's face everywhere and to hear demons whispering inside her ears as she prayed. As the experiences became more extreme, she concluded that she was possessed. Anneliese's supposed possession took her on a dark path. As the days continued, she ripped her clothes, performed over 400 genuflections a day, barked like a dog, and even partook in a cuisine of spiders and coal. Her screams could be heard, echoing late into the night, for days on end. So, was this really the behavior of someone possessed? Or was it a psychiatric condition needing help from medical experts? Well, being highly religious, her parents believed that she needed spiritual cleansing, and they made repeated requests for an exorcism of their daughter. However, finding a priest who believed in her possession presented quite a challenge. But eventually, two priests named Ernst and Arnold Renz came forward. The local bishop granted permission for an exorcism, but only on the condition of utmost secrecy. Over 10 haunting months, 67 exorcisms were conducted on the girl. The demons, said the priests, could individually be identified within her as they came to life through her body. They even claimed that Hitler himself had materialized, calling people stupid as pigs and that Judas also appeared inside her and began to dismiss him as a big mouth. More than 40 hours of the ordeal were even captured on audio tape, and the recordings are unsettling in the extreme. Harsh and animalistic snarls blend with guttural choking sounds, violent outbursts, and exchanges in which the alleged entities describe the torments of the underworld. The intensity of the sessions frequently escalated to the point where Anneliese had to be restrained or secured to her chair to prevent injury to herself or to others. Through grueling sessions, Anneliese revealed that she wanted to atone for the wayward youth of the day and for the apostate priests of the modern church, but in the end, the poor girl died of malnutrition and dehydration during one of the exorcisms the priests performed on her. She was just 23 years old at the time. In 1976, the state brought charges of negligent homicide against Michel's parents, along with priests Ernst and Arnold Renz. The parents received legal representation from the renowned defense attorney Erich Schmidt-Leitner, who somewhat eerily was known for his involvement at the Nuremberg trials, where he represented the company who'd manufactured poison gas called Zyklon B for Nazi death camps. The church covered the legal expenses of the two priests, who were recommended to face fines, whilst the prosecution concluded that the parents should be excused from any legal penalties due to having endured sufficient hardship already, a legally mitigating circumstance, according to German law. Anneliese's tragic death led to a national sensation and ultimately a Hollywood movie in 2005, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which may have taken some artistic liberties with the story, but ultimately shed light on the real terror that Anneliese herself had gone through. Today, even in death, Anneliese can't escape the sins that she spent her life in fear of. Her parents laid her in a section of the cemetery next to their house, which was reserved for illegitimate children and the victims of suicide. Her grave's now a gathering point for religious outsiders and those who have become fascinated by what really happened to this young girl. Perhaps they hope to glean some spiritual insight by visiting, or simply to try and understand the mystery of her life and death. But whatever really did happen, Anneliese's story's a stark reminder that sometimes what haunts us most are our own beliefs.